Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar event. My name is Josh. I'm going to be your presenter today. This is about accounting New Year checkup, okay? There are so many moving parts and components as part of accounting, and not only accounting, but between the old year and the new year, okay? Working between the old year and the new year. Here we're in our chart of in our 2024 accounting year. In church windows, in accounting here, January through December. Okay, we are. We're in, last day of February in 2024. I may be done with 2023. I may not. You may be done with it. You may not. But it's okay because church windows does permit you to work between two accounting years as long as you need or want. Okay. I'm going to get into a little more detail of that here in just a little bit. But first of all, the most common question we get literally in February every year is about the bank reconciliation. Oh, I reconciled, my bank statement for December 2023, and here I am trying to reconcile my bank statement for January of 2024, and I'm not reconciling. One of the questions I ask is, have you accounted for all your deposits and your withdrawals as the cleared deposits and cleared withdrawals on the bank reconciliation corresponding with what the statement tab shows? Yes, it absolutely does correspond with that. So to make a long story short, okay, even if, like I said, even if you're able to match up the deposits and withdrawals, so the cleared totals match the bank statement, the user's still not reconciling. The most common reason why that occurs, okay, is that they have, I am literally saying like 98, 99% of the time, users are unable to reconcile January is because they went back into 2023, prior year in this case, and they made changes and forgot to update the new year beginning balances for 2024. Okay. Just remember, church windows permits you to work between the two accounting years as long as you need or want. But if you go back into that prior year and post changes, whether it affects your cash accounts or not, folks, okay, you must come into the new year and update your beginning balances, okay? All right, and here I am in the new year. These are the balances I want to bring forward. I would go up to special functions, manage years, and right here, fourth one down, choose update beginning balances from prior accounting year ending balances. It says, are you sure you want to update balances for January through December 24 from January through December 23? That's my goal. So the answer to that is yes. Please pay attention to that. Make sure it is updating the year you're in from the year that it was the prior year. All right. And I'm going to click yes on that. Okay. And it confirms for me that the balances were updated successfully. Okay. Now the software has gone in and checked and looked at those December 31st balance sheet totals, and it has said, okay, I'm now bringing those forward and updating those into the beginning balances for 2024. Okay. Folks, I'm not kidding you. 9.5 times out of 10, I run that with a user who is not reconciling January when they reconcile December, and it fixes the problem. Okay. It is extraordinarily rare that updating the beginning balances does not fix that problem if they were reconciled to zero for December and they've accounted for all of their statement items in the month of January. All right. The thing is, you can update these beginning balances as many times as you need or want. All right. And if you're unsure how to check if those beginning balances are matching or not, go ahead and do it. Just do it. All right. Go right up, come into the new year, go up to special functions, manage years, choose update beginning balances, verify it, click yes, and make sure they're updated. Okay. I always confirm with folks on my support calls is it's not going to manufacture something just because you're updating the beginning balances. All it's going to go in and do is do a double check to make sure that whatever the ending balances were as of December 31st at 11:59 and 59 seconds is now brought forward into the beginning balances for 2024, the new year. Okay. So if nothing's changed, then the balances won't change. All right. It's not going to suddenly create something just simply because you're updating the balances. What I want to show you is how you can actually verify that those ending and beginning balances are the same. All right. Very straightforward. It's the balance sheet. You go to reports and export, financial, balance sheet. I'm in 24 still. Okay. Then we're going to go right here. We're going to choose 23 from our accounting year menu. We're going to choose them as of December 31st, 23. All right. And then when I click print, I'm looking really on, you might have to print this, okay? But what I'm focusing on is the year-to-date balance over here on the right side, okay? So my checking balance shows 130,006. Total assets equals 1.728 million and $91.36, okay? You can go through and look at the rest of them too, but we notice that they are balanced as well, okay? But the year to date at 11:59 on December 31st and 59 seconds, okay, that's what those totals are. Now I change my accounting year back to 2024 in the upper left. Again, the period now doesn't matter. What is more important is that I go to my columns tab and I add the column here to the right called beginning balance. Beginning balance in Church Windows always represents the first day of your accounting year. That doesn't matter whether you're on a calendar year or a fiscal year, okay? So once I now click print, again, the period does not matter because beginning balance always represents January 1 at midnight or whatever the start of your year is. Click print, and then we look at here, and where 130,006.29 in my checking account, 1,728,091 in my assets. All of those accounts have been updated and brought forward properly, okay? That is how you can check to make sure that the December 31st balances are brought forward properly into the new year, okay? Folks, there's one time only that I would not update my beginning balances, okay? And this is important, is if the church determines that as of, say, December 2023, that the chart of accounts is, and the books are just so messed up that you're going to start over 24 with a new entire chart of accounts to essentially establish a line in time between 23 and earlier and 24 and moving forward. I would not update my beginning balances if that scenario is in play. All right. Yeah, if you're starting over with brand new accounts and beginning balances are open and you're going to key those in because your books are just so messed up from prior years, that's the only time I'm not going to update those beginning balances. But if I'm copying forward my chart of accounts from the end of the prior year, I am absolutely updating my beginning balances. If I go back into 23 next month in March and make changes, I have to update those beginning balances. You have to update those beginning balances, okay? This is what I call a user-driven function. All right, Church Windows does not update the new year beginning balances automatically or systematically. You have to do it as the user. All right, so again, if you're unsure, simply do it. And if you're reconciling January and having trouble when you reconcile December, do that. It will probably likely take care of the problem. Okay. All right, I've gone about halfway through this event already and talked really about beginning balances, but it's important because it is one of the most common support calls we get in the month of February and beyond. I'm still getting them. Folks, I've done about 100 of these this year alone in February, all right? And 95 of them, it's fixed the bank reconciliation and the difference to reconcile, okay? So do it. If you're unsure, update those beginning balances, unless you're starting over with a new chart of accounts this year, all right? Okay. All right, so the other thing that we're going to talk about here is the checking the balance sheet for things like balance under accounts payable, all right? Look at your liability accounts. See here, I've got a balance under accounts payable here for 2024. Well, part of it's from this year, but clearly with beginning balances, some of it has been brought forward from the prior year, okay? So if I go in, because I've updated my balances, right? You just watched me do it. And when I run it as of December 31st, right now, there's my balance under accounts payable. Where is it? Accounts payable, right there, 3614.80. Okay. I'm mentioning this on this event today because, well, one, unless we have a reason why there would be we know there's a reason why we have a vendor that has a balance at the end of, say, the prior year, like it's rare, but it does happen from time to time, is a user will go, okay, I want to enter a bill in December, but I only want to pay it from my cash account in January. Great. That's a situation where maybe I would expect to see a balance, or might want to have a balance in my accounts payable vendors main ledger liability account. Or maybe I've got some pass-through monies like I see here for crop walk or disaster relief. I didn't write my check in December for that. I'm going to write that for here sometime in January. Fine. Those are perfectly fine. But, even payroll taxes, or in this case, pension payable, those I would expect to see there. But if you have nothing that's outstanding in December, you really do need to resolve why that problem is. Okay. Why do I have a balance under accounts payable? And here's really the kind of the crux about why this is important, folks, is I've had about 3 or 4 of these already this year. Is if you decide to utilize the hard close function in Church Windows and you've closed 2023, you can't go back into 23 and resolve this issue. It can only be fixed in 24. All right. And what I'm really referring to is right up here under special functions, manage year and years, and close accounting year. Okay. I've asked development to look into some of this on here, but some of these issues with regards to this. But whether you have a balance under accounts payable on the chart of accounts or on the balance sheet, or whether you go into pay bills, quick pay, and view outstanding bills, if you have some bills here from 2023, there is no way I am going to close 2023 with these bills outstanding unless I know that there's a reason why they're out there. Okay. The same is going to be true for vendors with a balance. Unless I know that there's a balance out here that is okay for me to bring forward into 2024, I need to resolve those issues in the prior year. And definitely before you hard close the year. Okay. Just a reminder, the hard close function, folks, is optional. There is no requirement in Church Windows accounting to hard close any accounting year. But I deal with at least, like I said, I've done about 4 or 6 users this year who have already closed their year, and now they want to go back in and change something or make a change or fix something, and they can't. Okay. And so, first of all, a closed year cannot be reopened. All right. There is no function to reopen a closed year in the Church Windows accounting module. All right. So if you close that, the only way you could potentially reopen it is if you had a backup of the data that you made just before you closed the year that you could go in and restore, but then you'd have to re-enter all of your data since that backup, okay, for accounting. All right. So, and also the accounting year can be closed at any time. And notably, if the church is planning on having their books audited for 2023 or the prior year, definitely do not close the year, because they won't be able to go in and make changes or corrections per what they need to do if you've closed that year. Okay. So because I have not closed 2023, I can absolutely go up to special functions, manage years, change to another year, go back to 23, try to resolve those issues, fix those. Then when I've done that, I would come back into 2024, go to special functions, manage years, and update my beginning balances. Okay. To find out which vendors have my balance, and I'm not going to go through this, folks, because this event isn't really covering this. There's useful information out on the website, on the Resource Center page, about how to deal with outstanding bills, vendors with a balance, and vendors without. But if I want to see a vendor with a balances in 2023, I'd go to Reports and Export, Worksheets, Accounts Payable. I'm going to choose Accounts Payable List. I'm going to uncheck unpaid invoices and vendors with a zero balance. I might want to see unpaid invoices. Okay. And then when I click print, it is now going to present a list for me of any vendor that it had In here and right here, it clearly shows I have an outstanding unpaid invoice from Be Sure You're Covered Insurance for $36,1480. Okay. So that, yeah, I have to figure out why the vendor shows the unpaid bill and why the balance is outstanding. Is it a duplicate bill? Is it a missing payment? I have to figure that out and resolve it. Okay. But that report would show me any vendor with a balance positive or negative. All right. Let me take a quick look at my document here. Okay. With a few minutes left here, a few other things. All right. Our software, while we're very big on the audit trail, and protecting you with our audit, what we believe is a very robust and strong audit trail, there's a good deal of flexibility in this software as well. Okay. And what I mean by that is, well, certainly clean up your chart of accounts, folks. Go into, even in 23, you could go in and clean out accounts you didn't need or weren't used in a year or two. You can do that in 23 or 24. I would probably likely come into 24 and do that. Now, what I have to exert caution about on that is if I go up to special functions, manage years, and delete unused accounts, many of my income and expenses are going to be available here because I may not have used them last year or this year, but I may not want to delete them. So, this is where you would go through and delete several accounts or numerous accounts or lots of accounts en masse. But clean up your chart of accounts, folks, every year. Okay? It's what allows it to be manageable. The thing I like to remind folks of is every year's chart of accounts is separate from the others. So when you delete accounts from, say, 2024, you're not deleting that same account from 23 and earlier. It is not a global setting. So removing accounts this year does not affect prior years. If I delete something in this list that I shouldn't have, I'm not worried. I just add it back to the chart of accounts. Okay? But clean up your chart of accounts annually. Rename and renumber chart of accounts numbers if necessary. You can change account names and account numbers at any time in the year. You do not need to have to worry about doing it at the end of one year or the beginning of the next. Okay? When you rename or renumber accounts, it doesn't take away or delete the history. It just changes the name or the number on that account. But all the transaction history in that year for accounting is still there. Okay? So it's not too late, even here at the end of February, to go in and make major changes to your chart of accounts. The only thing the software may prevent you from doing based on balances or activity is delete accounts. That's it. All right? But changing to a different name or different number that's available is permissible at any time throughout the year. Finally, anytime you have accounts that you have a question about, and it doesn't matter whether it's in 23, 24, the best tool you have at your disposal is the general ledger report. I typically, folks, run that right here from the chart of accounts. So if I come into my chart of accounts here and I got a question about some account, let's say, I don't know if I've got anything in here. You know what, folks, let's go back to 23 because I know I've got some data in there on that. And then I'll wrap things up here. So I go into the chart of accounts and I go down and I find, my general ties and offering income account right over here on the right on the detail tab. I've got the print button. Click on that. Opens up my general ledger with that account pre-selected. I can choose it for either a month or in this case, I'll choose year to date. Can make other selections here, column selections. I can include or not include reverse transactions, but then when I click print, it details the exact, all of the activity that affected that particular account in the requested or in the period that I selected, okay? But this is the best tool that you have to help answer questions and resolve problems around specific or individual accounts, folks. The general ledger is a lifesaver. I wouldn't know what to do without it, frankly. It is what allows me to help resolve your accounting issues and bookkeeping issues as quickly and easily as possible, okay? General ledger is your friend. All right, folks, that is where I am going to leave the topic for today.